With this, The Man Who Sold the World guitar lesson will show you all the essential guitar parts for one or two person performance, along with chord diagrams and a practice karaoke video. We'll cover it all with a step-by-step approach. For the intro, we'll start first by focusing on the rhythm parts, and the chord shapes will be an open A7th chord, then an open D minor, and then an F/C chord. I also refer to it as middle F because we're focusing on just those middle four strings. It's an F/C because C is the bass note of this F chord voicing. Also, if you happen to, while you're strumming, when we get to that in a second, if you happen to include the open top string, that's okay once in a while, but that does technically change the overall tone of the chord. It becomes an F major 7/C. So if you occasionally play the top string, not the end of the world, but try focusing more on just those middle four strings. And then with that, we'll do a one strum approach now to get acclimated to the chord changes. The progression for the intro, we're going to go from A7 to D minor to F/C and back to D minor. So let's one strum that right now. A7, D minor, F/C, and then back to D minor. Now for the strum pattern, we'll go back to the opening A7th chord. And there's a couple of ways to help you fall into the strum pattern, and that is using down and up strums. And what I think works best is this: down, down, up, down, up. We're going to apply that to each measure, so let's fine-tune that a couple times. Down, down, up, down, up. And one more. Down, down, up, down, up. Ultimately, you want to sound like this. So whatever helps you fall into that general strum pattern, you'll pretty much play that throughout most of the song. And we're going to apply the strum pattern 2 measures for each chord. So with that opening progression for the intro, it'll be A7th 2 measures, D minor 2 measures, F/C 2 measures. But for the final D minor, we'll just do a one strum and let that chord sustain into the verse section when the vocals begin. So let's review the intro with the strum pattern with the slow walkthrough. 1, 2, ready, go. Now, 2 clips from now, we'll review the complete intro. There'll be a separate clip where you can just practice it, but what we'll do before that is we'll show you next the intro riff that's played along with those backing chords. Now the intro riff is pretty much the main riff of the song, and even though this is an acoustic lesson, I can show you how to play it on acoustic guitar, and if you happen to have electric, just transfer this over to the electric guitar. The key to playing the intro riff is to keep the fretting hand steady and in position. What I mean by that, we're going to have our first finger aligned along the 5th fret, 3rd finger aligned along the 7th, 4th pinky finger aligned along the 8th fret. The intro riff is just played on one string, but if we have these fingers in position, the hand hardly moves, the fretting hand hardly moves, and that eventually makes it easier to learn and to play. So let's start off with that 7th fret note with the 3rd finger. We're going to play that 3 consecutive times. 1, 2, 3, and then drop down to that 5th fret. So 7, 7, 7, 5 would be the frets. And you would count that once you get that down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we place the 3rd finger back down, and we're going to do a hammer pull-off combo. So you got to keep that 3rd finger down or anchored, and you hammer and release with the 4th pinky finger. And that's between the 7th and 8th frets. And then ending with that 5th fret note. Dun, dun, dun. we put it together from the beginning, and for the intro, this riff is played 6 consecutive times. And then after the 6th time, we end with the 7th fret note. So that last time we would play the riff, if we combine that with that ending note, and that locks in with the D minor chord that we do a 1 strum on with the rhythm chords. They lock in together, and then we go into the verse. So in the next clip, we'll be able to review all these together, but let's warm up right now. Let's actually play the intro riff 6 consecutive times, just like the intro, but we'll do so with a slow walkthrough. 1, 2, ready, go. Once you can do that, you'll be ready for the next clip where we'll play things a little bit faster. We'll review the complete intro so you can either work on the riff or the rhythm chords. For the verse section, we'll be using the same chords from the intro. We have a different running order for the verse. And we also have the addition of an open C major chord that we'll be throwing in as well. And with the verse, pretty much it'll be the same strum pattern that we also used for the intro, but there will be a variation with the strum pattern in the middle of the verse that we need to focus on. We also need to focus on how to sync or time the lyrics with the chord changes of the verse. So with that, let's start from the beginning. Now technically, I look at the verse as far as the beginning of the verse being the progression, which will start with an A7th. However, the vocals sort of come into the verse. They lead into the verse. You might recall how we ended that intro with the D minor strum. Well, while that D minor is sustained, it's when the lyrics begin. We passed upon the stair. So that'll be the first syncing of lyrics with vocals in the song, A7th on the word stair. And that's when the progression, the guitar chords, begin with the verse. So what we're going to do, it's a long verse, so let's start just with a section-to-section approach. The first section of the verse will be A7th for 2 measures, D minor for 2 measures, and then back to A7th for 2 measures. So and it'll be the same strum pattern for each measure. So let's start with the beginning of the verse. We'll do a slow walkthrough, syncing up the lyrics with that first section. So, we passed upon the stair, spoke of was and when, although I wasn't there. Said I was his, and we continue on. Friend lands on F, or technically F/C. 2 measures of that. He said I was his friend, which came as some sort middle of surprise. On prize, we land on C. 2 measures that, spoken to his, and then we go to A7th. Here's where the variation occurs. It'll be 1 measure of A7th, and then we extend that A7th measure, at least I do, with 2 extra down strums on the A7th. And those 2 extra down strums land on the syllables died, beginning of alone. Died alone will be back to D minor. A long, long time, then double C, go. So there's a lot there for the verse. What I think is a good idea is to go back to what we just started with this sequence here, which was the F/C on friend, and let's do a slow walkthrough to show you how the lyrics sync up with the strumming. So I'll lead in with "He said I was his friend. He said I was his friend, which came as some surprise. Spoken to his eyes, I thought you died alone a long, long time ago." And that double C leads into the chorus section. So what we'll do in the next clip, we'll review the complete verse with the slow walkthrough, and you can focus on timing or syncing the lyrics from the beginning of verse 1. For the chorus, we'll be using a new chord shape, a B flat minor. That's a bar chord along the first fret position with the 5th string bass note. And compared to the other chords we use, the open chords, this will be somewhat a tricky transition to work on. So before we focus on the strum pattern or the lyrics, let's break down the chord changes that we got to do for the chorus. The chord sequence or progression isn't too tricky. It's only pretty much a 4-chord sequence for the chorus. C to F/C, then the B flat minor, and then back to F/C. Now, one of the tricks to getting that transition down, or the transitions in that sequence, is everything's along the first fret position. And some fingers you don't have to lift off between the chord changes. Here's what I mean. So from C to F/C, your 1 and 3 fingers don't move. That might make that one a little easier. And then for the B flat minor, the 3 and 4 fingers kind of stay together. They do shift up. And then that first finger stays along the first fret. And then you got to go back to the F chord again, kind of keeping everything aligned, primarily with the 1 finger along that first fret. So let's do a 1-strum approach through the complete progression of the chorus, and then we'll focus on the strum pattern. So we'll start with the C to F/C, B flat minor, back to F/C, then repeat the first 3 chords back to C, F/C, and B flat minor. Now the strum pattern is the same strum pattern we used throughout the song up to this point. And another trick to memorizing the chorus, it's only 1 measure per chord as opposed to 2 like we did previously. So with that, let's do a slow walkthrough and just work on the progression for now with the chorus. 1, 2, ready, go. And then a sustained B flat minor will end the chorus. We'll do that one more time, since I didn't warn you about that sustained B flat minor. 1, 2, ready, go. And that sustained chord will lead into what is pretty much repeating the intro again. but since it's not the intro of the song, we'll give it a different name. We'll call it the Interlude. And so after that sustained B flat minor chord, we'll go back to the beginning, which was the double A7, double D minor, then F/C, and then the sustain, D minor. That'll lead into the next part of the song. So we'll call that the interlude section. It's basically the intro repeated again. But what we'll do in the next clip is we'll put it all together. You can review the complete chorus along with the interlude and focus also on syncing the lyrics with the chord changes. Verse 2, guitar-wise, will be played the same as verse 1, so the only difference will be the different lyrics for verse 2. So what we'll do in the next clip is you can review syncing or timing the lyrics of verse 2 with the backing chords. For the second chorus, you'll play the same progression as the first chorus. The only difference will be the lyrics. And then what follows the second chorus is another interlude progression like we did with the first chorus, but the only difference will be we're going to keep strumming the D minor chords that end it. So originally we just ended the first interlude as well as the intro with just a one-strum D minor. For the second interlude that follows the second chorus, two measures of D minor. Because we won't be leading into a verse this time, we'll be leading into a repeated chorus, a third chorus. So with that, you can put this all together, focus on the different lyrics as well as the variation on the interlude for the second chorus in the next clip. For the third chorus, we'll be using the same chord progression as the previous choruses, and the lyrics are simply repeated from the second chorus. And after the third chorus is when the song has a long coda or ending that eventually fades out. So what we have left is to figure out an ending for a one-person strum-along performance. And what I would suggest is to sort of shorten things up. On the original recording, there's a lot of instruments played, and it's kind of interesting, but if you're playing on your own, you might want to shorten it up, and I would just do one progression of the interlude and then end with the strum D minor chord. And here's how that would sound. So starting with the double A7, double D minor, double F/C, and then there's there's your one suggested ending. Or you could extend it a bit. You can double up on the D minors again. And I think that works best for one-person performance to sort of shorten up the arrangement a little bit, at least the ending or coda. But if you have other instruments, other players, by all means, extend it out. Once you have each section down, the final step is to put together a complete arrangement or performance of the song. And you can do that along with my The Man Who Sold the World karaoke video. And with that video, you can either sing along with The Man Who Sold the World karaoke, play guitar with The Man Who Sold the World karaoke, or do both.